Hey there, welcome. Thanks for joining me. If this is your first time to my channel, my name is Violet, and today I'm super excited to be sharing with you some more coastal decor. And this coastal decor is a tier tray and some candle holders, or even like a table riser for decor. You can use those as well. So what we're going to do first is use these beautiful plates and bowls that you can get at Dollar Tree. And also you're going to use one of these coral cups that come 4 in a pack. And again, just use one and set the other ones aside to use for another project. So what we're gonna do is go ahead and flip over your plate, and you're gonna go ahead and add some E6000 or Fix-All glue to the rim or the bottom of your cup. It really doesn't matter which one side you use first, because you're gonna glue both plates to your cup. So just go ahead and add, again, your Fix-All glue or E6000, and then add your hot glue in between those, your permanent glue, wherever you added it. And also add a little bit of hot glue in the center of your cup. Go ahead and flip that over and attach it to your plate. I love these colors of blues and corals on these plates. They're so pretty. When I saw these plates, I knew I wanted to make a tier tray with it. So just go ahead and flip over your second plate. And what we're going to do is add, again, Fix-All glue or E6000, and then some hot glue in between to the bottom of your bowl. Now, the reason why we're going to do it this way is because I wanted that pretty decorative rim on that bowl. I wanted you to be able to see that on the bottom of my tier tray. So if you don't want it that way, go ahead and just use the top of your bowl, and you can use it that way. It's totally optional. So go ahead and attach that to your second plate. Now, before we attach these together and make a tier tray, what I'm going to do is get my plate with my cup, and I'm going to add some hot glue to the bottom, or I guess, yeah, the top or the bottom of your plate, just like this. And then we're gonna go ahead and wrap some jute twine around. And this is pure decoration, so it's completely optional. You don't have to do this part at all. Basically, you can just attach both parts together, and it would be a beautiful tier tray that way. I just wanted to add a little bit more, that little extra touch. So what I decided to do was just wrap some jute twine around the top and the bottom of my cup. You can even wrap jute twine around the entire cup if you like. That's completely optional. Just go ahead, and I wrapped it around, I want to say a good, maybe about 10 times. And I just added some hot glue every so often, just to make sure that jute twine stays in place. There's so many areas and places you can use this decor. I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to use it just yet, but I know I do want to use it somehow outside in my patio, even if it's just for a cookout or something like that. But I'm not exactly sure where I'm going to leave it for its decorative purposes. Not just yet. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it indoors or out. Let me know in the comments below if you're going to make this and where you're going to use it at. So once you wrapped around enough times that if to your liking of that jute twine at the bottom or the top of your cup, go ahead and do the same thing to the opposite side. Now, since it's the top of your cup, the rim, what I did was I did add hot glue around the entire first wrap of my jute twine, just to make sure that it stayed in place and it didn't fall anywhere, underneath that rim. So once you're done doing that, just go ahead and continue wrapping it around and just adding some hot glue every so often, again, just to make sure that jute twine stays in place and it's nice and even. Again, I wrapped it around about 10 times or so, just until I felt that I was enough of the jute twine. And like with any project, when you do use jute twine, don't forget to use your lighter and just burn off all those ends and all that jute twine that's all loose and the flyaways, I guess they're called. Just go ahead and make sure you do that in order for it to give it more of a finished look. So once you're done and happy with the amount of jute twine you add to your cup, what we're going to do is go ahead and attach it to the bottom tier tray. The same way we added everything else, adding some permanent glue and then your hot glue. Making sure that it's in the center, just go ahead and press it down until it's nice and dry. It pretty dries pretty quick, so just go ahead and set it aside just so that permanent glue will have time to dry at least a little bit before you go on and move it around too much. So what I decided to do was go ahead and grab some more jute twine, and I started twisting it. Now you can even braid it if you like, but I just thought the simplest way would be to twist it. And what I decided to do was add a little bit of hot glue to the rim of my plate. And I did this to both bottom and top plate. So I just added a little bit of hot glue just like that. And then I twisted my rope and I attached it around the rim of my plate, just to give it, again, that extra touch, that personal style that I wanted to give it. This is completely optional. You can even add maybe some small shells around it. It's completely optional. You can even just leave it as is, again, and it would be perfectly beautiful and fine. Just go ahead and what I did was continue twisting every so often, and just adding some more hot glue. Just being careful to add it just around the rim of my plate. That's why I just did it in small sections. And then I just grabbed my rope, made sure it was nice and twisted, and then held it in place. And I just did that around the entire rim of my plate. I'm using jute twine and twisting it. If you didn't want to do it this way, you could even use some nautical rope or even some raffia. Would look really pretty, maybe even braided and then wrapped around here as well. So there's completely different options that you can do if you wanted to add some kind of detail around the rim. You could even maybe add some beads. That would be really pretty as well. So once you're done, just go ahead and make sure you add a little bit more than extra glue around that edge where that raffia ends, so you can make sure that it stays in place and they're both attached nice and firmly. So just go ahead and do the same thing on the top tier tray. Adding some hot glue, just a little bit around the rim and just in little sections, and then continue twisting your rope and attaching it again in smaller sections. Just hold that rope in place until that glue has enough time to dry, so it'll stay in place. That way when you continue twisting your rope, it won't twist and fall off of your rim of your plate. And if you don't feel comfortable just using hot glue around this area, you can add hot glue and then add every so often some permanent glue, and then skip that part and add some more hot glue just to give it that extra security in order for it not to fall off. But I'm pretty sure it won't fall off if you just do it with the hot glue if you're going to use it indoors. So once you're done with that, go ahead and set it aside. Now for our second project, what we're going to use are these little cactus flower decors that I found at Dollar Tree as well. And what I'm doing is just adding some permanent glue in the center and hot glue around it. And I'm going to place one of those decors on top of the other one, just like that. And then just go ahead and set it aside. You might want to put something heavy on top of it just to give it that extra pressure for it to stick really good. So just go ahead and do the same thing. My first initial thoughts were to use 3 and then another candle holder with just 2, but I decided to just go ahead and make both of my candle holders the same size with just using 2. So So once you're done gluing them and they're nice and dry, go ahead and spray paint them any color you like. I painted mine white. And then to add that extra little nautical flair to this candle holder, what I did was grab some more jute twine and wrap it around the center of where both of my cactus decors were attached together. And just continue wrapping that jute twine and adding a little bit of hot glue every so often just to make sure it stays in place, and just continue wrapping it around until you feel comfortable. You can even double wrap it if you want a thicker center of that jute twine. So once you're happy with that, just make sure you add a little bit more of that hot glue, and then just go ahead and secure it and cut off the rest of that jute twine. So this, both of these projects were pretty easy to do. They're not very hard at all to do. It's just a little bit time consuming because you're wrapping that jute twine around, but again, it wasn't that hard and it really wasn't that long of a time to make both of these projects. So very, very friendly for those beginner crafters out there. So again, once you're done with that, go ahead and grab your lighter and just burn off all those extra little fringe and hairs that come off of that jute twine. Now, again, just use some permanent glue and hot glue to attach what I'm going to attach on top are mirrors. You can even use a tray or some of those candle holders that are from Dollar Tree as well. But for video purposes, I just added glue, hot glue to my mirrors. But if you want to make sure that it's permanent, go ahead and add some permanent glue to that as well. And just like we did to the tier tray, I decided to mimic and do the same thing to around my mirrors by twisting that jute twine and then gluing it around my mirror as well. Just twisting two of those strings or strands of jute twine together, wrapping it and gluing it with my hot glue gun. And I just thought it gave it such a pretty unique look to each one of these candle holders. This can easily be a farmhouse style candle holder as well. You just wouldn't have to add that shell in the center like I am. You can just leave it as is, or even add a really pretty maybe burlap flower or something like that if you wanted to make it more farmhouse. Because these are white, I spray painted them white, so they kind of are a neutral color that can go anywhere just depending on what that extra decor that you're going to add to the center is going to be, is what's going to really make it to a certain style. But you can easily, again, just leave it as is. You can even add, skip the jute twine and just leave it without any of the jute twine or wrapped around it and leave it more modern. So again, this is just different ideas that I'm throwing out there for you guys to think of when you're making any kind of decor for your home, what kind of style you want. Sometimes we tend to see tutorials and say, oh, that's really pretty, but that's not my style. Well, just to give you a little ideas of different ways you can make the same thing that I'm doing, just by adding or taking away something would make it a completely different style. So I hope that helps everyone out there that's thinking, oh, you know, I can't do that, or it's not my style. Well, maybe it can be just by, again, adding or removing something from this decor. So once you're done wrapping that jute twine around your mirror, go ahead and make sure you add quite a bit of glue at that little end and twist that extra jute twine around and just hold it in place to make sure it stays there. And there you have it. Really easy, really quick and beautiful candle holder, or even you can use this as a riser for a different decor. So to make this more of the coastal style, what I did was I grabbed some shells and I got some of this blue paint, and I'll make sure again to leave that color of apple barrel paint that I'm using down below. And all I did was brush it onto my shell. Now, before my shell was completely dry, I also got a wet napkin, and I'm going to wipe off some of that paint so the shell could look through, it can see through and you can see some of the colors of the shell. I didn't want it to be all one solid color. I wanted that natural shell look to come through. So again, I just got a wet napkin or a towel and just wiped off some of that paint before it completely dried. You can even spray paint these shells gold or silver. That would be really pretty, more of that glam coastal look. So just add some permanent glue and hot glue to your shell, and then attach it to the center of your candle holder, right where the jute twine's at, just like that. And that gives it that extra little coastal flair that I was looking for. And just do the same thing to your second candle holder. So if you enjoyed this tutorial, don't forget to give me a big thumbs up and share with friends and family. And if you're new here again, I hope you do consider subscribing. We'd love for you to join us. And this is the way it looks all put together with a little bit of the decor on my tray. And all I did was add some blue candles to my candle holders. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Until next time, you guys stay busy and stay blessed. Bye.